With Christmas in the rear view, we should expect to hear more on the WVU football coaching staff as it continues to build under Coach Rodriguez. But we do have reports of a couple other hires that are going to be involved with the WVU football program in 2025. Let's talk about them. What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back into the Country Roads webcast here for another WVU football coaching staff update as we've got reports of a couple more hires coming on to join the program. But before we get into those names, just want to get you guys with a quick reminder. If you would, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button, giving us a like on the video. Really helps a ton with the YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe here. We'll be covering this coaching staff as it builds and as the Mountaineers build this roster heading into the 2025 season and a new era. Be sure you're subscribed here while we cover it all in the lead up to that era, and we appreciate you doing that. And if you'd like to support us monthly, you can do that by becoming a channel member where you'll get bonus WVU football content. We really appreciate that. Helps keep the mics recording and the cameras rolling here. But like I said, the fast, easy, and free way, just hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Having said that, let's get into it. All right, so the first of these updates actually came out on Christmas Eve, but I went live the day before and told you guys I probably wouldn't do anything Christmas Eve or Christmas, and we'll be back with you guys on the 26th. Here I am back in pre-recorded fashion here on the 26th. Hope you and yours had a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever it is you celebrate. If you celebrate anything, hope you just had a great time getting to spend time with people that you care about. But we did have some news in the lead up to Christmas, courtesy of 247 Sports Mike Kazaza putting this one out. And it is one that I put out on social media that I was very excited about, actually, because he was my favorite assistant on the previous staff. And if there was a couple of guys I was hoping to retain, they would have probably been Blaine Stewart and Chad Scott. And looks like West Virginia will be retaining both of those. Do got to add that nothing has officially come out from WVU yet. All hires, save for, of course, Rich Rod himself, are just reported until they're official from the university. But reportedly, we are keeping Chad Scott on staff as well. Mike Kazaza putting this out just before Christmas on Christmas Eve. Sources telling Eurosports.com that Rich Rodriguez is retaining Chad Scott as part of the new coaching staff. And in the update, he states he will be running backs coach, but not offensive coordinator. So West Virginia still on that search for that offensive coordinator. You guys know I've talked about it in the past. Still got my fingers crossed that they could steal Garen Justice away from SMU as co-OC and offensive line coach, or OC and offensive line coach, rather. He is co-OC at SMU, I do believe, but that would be a big hire. Keep your eyes out, see what West Virginia does with the offensive line coach. To me, that should be a top target. I hope that he is, but nonetheless, a guy that I was hoping we would retain in Chad Scott, we are indeed retaining, and I think this is a big, excellent recruiter, has shown that he's a great identifier of talent at the running back position. Sometimes that talent not even highly rated. You look at guys like C.J. Donaldson, Jaheim White, who were kind of flying under the radar, that he found that are gone on to be really talented players. And I think Jaheim White could thrive in the Rich Rod offense. And I think this is even an added bonus, maybe the cherry on top of this point of bringing Chad Scott back, is a good chance to retain Jaheim White, which I think is one of the things you desperately need to do. You only have one or two starters potentially returning on each side of the ball, and Jaheim, I think, is probably the most important one you want to retain here with this Rich Rod scheme. So maybe getting Chad Scott back helps with that. And he's worked with some of the other players as well now as an offensive coordinator and interim head coach, of course, in the bowl game. So maybe this helps with some of the other guys that are in the portal and uncommitted. Maybe you could potentially get them to return now. Can't rule that out. But either way, I think it's a great move by Rich Rod for this current staff to bring back a high-energy guy like Chad Scott, a player's favorite, a fan favorite, brings great energy around, and I think he'll fit in Rich Rod's culture. I truly do. You heard him, in the lead-up to the bowl game, kind of say he switched some things, maybe even a little bit of criticizing the way that Neil Brown was doing some things, and he called plays differently, used a little bit more tempo. So I think that he can fit in culturally, and I think retaining Chad Scott's a great move. So we know of that one, but then we have another new addition to the staff that has now been reported, and I think, this one's probably all but official. Let's talk about Cole Dial. And I'm going to share this one's from WVSportsNow.com. Our friends over there, they do a great job, of course, covering all things WVU football, basketball, and the like. Or you can find our podcast episodes for the CRW podcast on their website as well. But Mike Osty putting this one out today. West Virginia adds key position to help guide WVU football program. And that is none other than Cole Dial, who will apparently serve as the assistant athletics director for football operations. And you can even see it on Cole Dial's Twitter account, which we'll pull up momentarily. momentarily. Dial previously served as the director of football ops at Jax State. He follows Rodriguez to West Virginia to help assemble the roster and assists in leading the direction of the football program. Dial's job does not extend to working with the rest of WVU sports and, of course, solely focuses on WVU football. Dial has already been recruiting players and posted about why athletes should join Rodriguez at WVU earlier in the week. If you're a dual threat QB or a stud running back, why wouldn't you want to come play in at Real Coach Rod's offense, tagging WVU football, hitting the hard edge hashtag and the earned success? And you can see some good numbers from, if you didn't get to watch any Jax State, I talked about their quarterback and running back combination that Rich Rod had there, and you see them, the first duo in FBS history to each rush for 1,315 plus touchdowns. The quarterback with 1,345 and 15 TDs, and the running back with 1,634 and 25 rushing touchdowns. As you can see why I think Jaheim White could be absolutely lethal in this offense. But Cole Dial putting that out on social media should have been a giveaway. And then, of course, we get the reports today. And if we go over to Cole Dial's X/Twitter page, you can see the WVU football cover photo, header, whatever you call it there in the background. And you see Assistant Athletic Director for Football Operations at WVU Football. So although we haven't had a press release from the university making this one official, it seems all but official here with Cole Dial as Assistant Athletics Director for Football Ops coming over for Jax State. So we have Cole Dial and we have Chad Scott reported as well. And after those additions that we've talked about here in this video, that would make the reported WVU football staff that we know of currently: Rich Rodriguez, obviously the head coach, Blaine Stewart with an unassigned position currently. Then you bring it over Michael Nicewander reportedly from Jax State to coach tight ends, and you're bringing over Ryan Garrett from Jax State to coach receivers. And then on the other side of things, you potentially have Cole Dial in the more athletic department side of things, but on the focusing solely on football, of course, as mentioned in the article, and then retaining Chad Scott as well now, as was reported by Mike Kazaza there, we've covered in this video. So that's kind of the staff as it's looking currently with what we know from reports. We'll continue to see how it shapes up. I'm sure more stuff will come out on that defensive side. I know a couple of guys that were mentioned as targets of the defensive coordinator position both play bowl games, one on the 27th and one on the 28th. So guys, I would suspect by 1st, 2nd of January, we'll know pretty much this entire staff. Once that defensive coordinator's in position, then you'll start to learn more about that defensive side of things. And I suspect we'll hear something on offensive line coach and offensive coordinator in the near future here for the WVU 2025 staff. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments on how things stand currently. How do you feel about this staff, how it's taking shape, and what would you like to see added, or who would you like to see added to this coaching staff as it continues to build under Coach Rodriguez? Always appreciate those interactions, just as like we appreciate you hitting that thumbs up button before you head out and being sure to subscribe here to the channel for future coverage of this coaching staff and this roster as it builds heading into the Rich Rod 2.0 era. As always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.